Alright, we have GammaRailgun and Ofnaught in this match on the belt. Both of these players have been around for a while, going back to the playtesting days, way before, pre-alpha, even before I started to play. 5 capture point, A, B, C down in the bottom right, then D and E. So I was initially thinking, hey, look, they're going to need to take a whole bunch of railguns, and I actually expect a little bit of that. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some beams, actually, because there's a fair amount of cover broken up by intermediate terrain here. So you've got these big open holes where, a railgun battleship can sit here, or can sit there, or even up top. I haven't done too many casts on the belt, so this will be quite interesting and different. So we can see that Gamma from memory was on team 1. We'll just do a quick check. Yep, Gamma was on the blue team, Ofnaught was on the orange. Let's have a quick squiz. Let's have a look at Ofnaught first. So it looks like he is bringing 2 battleships, one of them being railguns. So railguns, Aurora point defense on one side, interruption jammer on the other. So it's going to be facing effectively one way, and then all the Auroras facing another. Very much like our high score-esque tactic. There we go. And then we've got the WSV Harry Q Dara, which is the 450mm battleship. It's effectively going to play the same way. So it's support modules on one side, and then they've got the majority of the point defense being Auroras on the other side. So you can see both on top and mounted and on the starboard side. So this will require a fair amount of good placement and positioning. You can't just run in with that ship. And then just let the point defense provide that all-round coverage. It's going to require a fair amount of micro, and with these level of players, I expect that. So we've got 4 corvettes being supported. We've got a lock and an EWA and a blanket jammer, WSV cap, a bit of point defense, and a Mark 61 120mm gun, and another bit of point defense here in the terms of defender, so firing those 20mm slugs. So it looks like it's running straight for point A. We've got Cappy coming in. I'm going to have to be quick. Same build. And this other one down here, same build. So very simple, cheap ships, one with locking, and then we've got 2 big brawlers. Now, if we jump across over to a GammaRailgun, he's also making immediate moves for the same points by the looks of it. So I think he's going for D. Looks like Ofnaught's going for A, whilst we've got Cappy going for C and this group going for E. We've already got missiles being launched down from Gamma here, so let's have a quick look at his build whilst he takes some Hurricanes and Thunderheads going towards Cappy. So we've seen these ships before, Red Sky and Symphony of Tears, missile corvettes with blanket jammers. Yep, so he's blanket jamming there. Chaff's coming out. We've got some chaff, we've got some defenders, but we've got Hurricanes, and Hurricanes are not are not affected by chaff. Thunderhead's coming up, missing through that. However, it looks like with the head-on nature of the Hurricanes, Cappy has survived. So now sitting in, where is he? Now sitting in the center. Let's quickly finish off these ships. The Solace of Youth, the Pinard missile roll-off ship, and again another Pinard missile roll-off ship, and then we've got the bulk of his force being the Sunhome and the Tamari, both 250mm HEAP light cruisers with interruption jammers point defense, and their supporting ships being their EWA and Bullseye counterparts to provide the support to those. So straight off, we've got the corvettes moving straight into the capture positions, 3 points over to 1. We can see that Ofnaught is taking those initial positions. We've got some exploratory Thunderheads here by the looks of it, and some chaff being deployed, but it looks like the micro from Ofnaught is going, and the positioning is going to protect that ship as it moves now behind the terrain piece of point C. So WSV Cap's taken point A. Block has pulled away after seeing that point D was being contested. And we now have the main bulk of the force here slowly moving into point E. So point E, this is a big position. Sorry, this is a large formation of ships, so it's going to take a little bit longer than normal. We've got the Symphony of Tears and Red Sky in the morning firing some of the missiles against the two battleships who are remaining fairly close together. And I wonder if this will be the tactic here, is that instead of splitting them up to do different work, will they stay together using the railguns from one as that long range support, whilst we have the HE providing that sort of close to medium range support fire. So between the two of them, anything contesting these battleships are going to be pretty hard pressed. And that then raises the question of, firing all these hurricanes at these battleships may not be the greatest idea. The main force for Gamma actually is that he can take out these smaller ships and then just capture all the points, as opposed to going head on. And here it looks like he's going head on against a number of Auroras, which are just going to systematically shoot down. So I think there's 4 on each ship. They have a 30-second cooldown time each. I think there's about 15-second pulse time. So they're just going to be able to sort of sit here, pulse. Ofnaught also has the ability to battle short these, so like an energy beam, he can provide a battle shorting technique, which will just keep them going when he needs them, as opposed to them going onto their cooldown time. So, whilst being able to damage those when he does that, it will provide him that security and safety when he needs to. And we've seen Gamma losing one ship at the moment. It's got no power. There it goes, it's dead. And it looks like Red Sky in the morning got away without any damage, so good there. But I think the tactic here that Gamma should take is taking these smaller ships out here. So these are now just being able to, this one's being able to stand off and provide its own. This one here is able to stand off. We've got Cap up here, so these small corvettes and ships should be going and taking out these corvettes, and then just focus capturing on points whilst kiting out and dodging these two battleships who are going to have the range. So Gamma just needs to dodge around them, and then he should be okay. Always easier said than done. So Bleeding Souls of Youth now firing Thunderheads. It looks like these will be aimed at the Cap. And he's just firing 2 by the looks of it. It's got a point defense on it. Likely chaff. It's hard to tell where these are going. Maybe these are just exploratory missiles into point B, as they're not going anywhere. So 3 points and an early lead to Ofnaught, 2 to Gamma. With that early lead as over a double point lead here from Ofnaught at the moment. And we now see the light cruisers here starting to fire on the Cappy, the Cappy, getting some hits as they move between the terrain as it dives, and so does the rest of the ships here. It's also engaging on one of these destroyers, but it's not really going to do a lot of damage. And you can see here just how much of the... You can see here that these light cruisers are just going to be able to make short work of this. If they can get some of these shots to land, which they are. Taking out the vision, and there goes the Cappy. So Gamma's now going to be able to move down to point C uncontested, and it looks like some of the point defense has been survived by the Cap with 2 Ps, and they're just going to slowly weed out its point defense, I think. It has the ability to fire one Mark 61 HE, and these don't have any other offensive capabilities other than their missiles. So the missiles themselves from these two are going to need to destroy Cap, which at the moment they've been able to do enough, just slowly being able to wait till it rotates out of position. So now 2 ships taken out, really freeing up Gamma on this here side of the map. On the right hand side, he basically controls everything from point B to the right here, whilst it looks like Ofnaught's got everything sort of from the point B out to the left. So extending additional bits of missiles here. It is marked as dead as on my screen, and it looks like it actually is dead now. It's still no space oil or anything like that, or you know, space fluids, space debris. There we go, life pods. So yep, there's confirmation. The Symphony of Tears and Red Sky in the Morning have both been destroyed by the combined firepower of these battleships, and these battleships will be a bit terrifying to deal with, to be honest. There's no real way that that type of fleet can deal with this type of fleet here. Apart from kiting and just getting around and staying away, a direct conflict with these two ships will just lead in Gamma's fleet being teared up. So we'll see how that goes. But those fast-moving ships from Gamma have been destroyed, so it'll make it hard to go back and continually capture other, or quickly capture other points. And he's still got 3 corvettes surviving, so he's going to have the ability to retake points quicker, even with 2 battleships at the moment. So now looks like Gamma's been caught out in his dive for point C, so he needs to make use of terrain here, but these 2 battleships are now going to be able to move forward, taking out and focusing on this group of ships. With the way that these are set up, Ofnaught has set the heading forward, and then he's going to be issuing a movement order. So using that heading shortcut key H, setting it with a sphere widget, and then moving forward so that they drive with their maneuvering thrusters as opposed to their main thrusters. And they don't need to get there anywhere quickly, they just need to get there eventually. Reactor detonation from the cap, but it doesn't look like it's damaged anything. Looks like these missiles are now going for the par. And it looks like good dodging here. A continual chaff trail allows each of those missiles, even once they miss the initial bit of chaff, to continually target something else other than the ship. So, you know, absolutely excellent. Question is, how many times can they do it before they run out of chaff? How much chaff has been given? It looks like both of these ships are probably going to be providing different waypoints now, because these aren't really targeting anything, but they may come back up. So we'll just come back over to the par here. It is taking fire as well from the smaller fleet from Gamma, and we've now got the battleships providing some assistance here. Although it looks like the Auroras are hitting, or hit this the par itself. But the battleships are now covering this corvette. Otherwise, it looks like the rest of these missiles are hitting their terminal waypoint and are simply exploding. So a bit hard to say wasted because you don't know the intent behind it, but they definitely didn't make contact. Now we got a bit of a broadside exchange. You've got the railguns fairly close, and we got the HE from Ofnaught, 450mm, starting to take out these light cruisers. Between these 2 battleships, they should be able to quickly cut through a lot of these ships, even if Gamma can sort of get away. They're going to start to get damaged over time. and these battleships will just slowly complete their advance forward. So it's hard to say here, you know, what's the correct way to play. If he can maybe bring his ships up through, you know, point B, or, you know, behind point B and come over to A and D, sort of just keep them out of position, take out these other corvettes. It's probably the best that he can do in this scenario. He may have a plan though, you know. He's been playing for a while. He knows how to counter a lot of things, so we'll just see how it goes. Could be worthwhile disengaging his corvettes from formation. I know he keeps these in formation here, so maybe keeps the corvettes out, at least get them to safety, and then bring your light cruisers up by themselves. Thunderheads here, looks like they are going for all these other smaller corvettes. So we got 2 coming up here and 2 in here. We'll try and watch them both at the same time. Will it make a hit? Looks like that one hit. It looks like these ones missed and went through chaff. Let's just check. Was there a strike? Yeah, you can see that there was definitely a strike. It took out some thrusters. The lock looks like it's on. The blanket jammer looks like it's still moving, so maybe just a glancing hit on the side or on the top. Although it does look like the cap has sustained some damage. Its HE gun is out. Its frontal thrusters are starting to degrade over time. Its point defense is still working, but it doesn't look like it has any ammunition, as it is tracking, but it isn't doing anything. So we'll see how that goes, but it could also be set to point defense only. So to target point defense self only, as opposed to point defense zone area. All these missiles here coming in to target the battleships. The question is, you know, is that with the roll-offs, there's only going to be X amount, and with both of them in the same position, you know, should you keep using the same amount of missiles? Or, you know, I think I would be targeting these more with missiles, you know, pulling out all the chaff over time, making them work for it. It doesn't look like the missiles here from the roll-offs are actually going to be able to pierce through the point defense of both of these ships, and that says, you know, should you just keep firing them? However, it does keep occupying them, and that in itself is a question of, well, if I just keep occupying these ships, I have the freedom of movement to do other things. So by forcing his enemy with missiles, by expending points and missiles, basically his resources to occupy his opponent, Gamma may have the ability to then complete his own decision making and thinking, and what's he going to do. And it looks like it's, you know, it's paying off. These ships here, they could have probably come up a little bit higher to start to protect them from the gunfire and the rail fire, but, you know, he's been able to pull them out and around. He may be able to now come over here and take out the WSV block. I think he did get Cappy. There, oh no, Par is still alive by the looks of it. There was another ship in here. I reckon he's got that. So now firing a number of squalls. Looks like they'll waypoint over the top, and I think he's counting on the fact that this ship here. Okay, yes, he did get Cap, not Cappy. He got Cap. Now, all those squalls here would have actually been pretty good against Block, because that's the one that has the radar jamming. And where are these going? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on. Was he dumbfiring those at that ship? It was already dead on my screen. Wonder if this one suffered engine damage, because it's not moving, but its engines are still online. Now would be the time to be firing, you know, the 250 mils over to block here. And it looks like he's still focusing on cap, and that could just be because he's that's what he was targeting, and he just hasn't been able to pull that off. You see some penetrating railgun shots here. The battleships are now starting to sort of get that, starting to get in close, which is causing their spread to, become a lot shorter, or a lot tighter, I should say. He has now been able to get behind this piece of terrain, which is absolutely great. His ability here is maneuverability. So if he can shoot up to A, if he can shoot down to D, he needs to take this little ship out here, because it'll be able to continually just cap these smaller points. And he also has the options here with these ships. Whilst they do have the pinards, he's already got these 2 points. He doesn't need to do anything with those ships. He needs to take another point up here. So, capturing point A and point D, that forces the battleships here to either go left or right. They are slow enough that they could, if they commit one way, he's can easily take 3 points on the other. If they split up, they could probably hold their own, to be honest, because it looks like most of the missiles are starting to be depleted from these ships. I reckon this ship looks pretty damaged. I wonder if it's maybe a CIC strike has taken it out. Something has definitely disabled this ship, and Ofnaught's not punishing this one in particular, instead focusing on these other ships that he has been able to catch. So the Morning Song has been caught by both ships here, which is quite unfortunate. However, 2 have got away and are making their way up to point D. A bit of chaff looks like it's remaining on the field, and look, some little barrels here on the field. That's pretty cool, eh? They've modelled those in. Now, it looks like the Sunhome is back online, engaging its thrusters to get itself out and away and into some cover. If it can get up and above, that would be great. Get itself into safety, and here is the chance to also start firing on block. So block looks like it's making a run down for point C. Yeah, and that is a sensible decision. And these 250s should be able to start to engage it if they are functioning. And it looks like they're all functioning. If he has any ammo, if it hasn't been, he hasn't suffered an ammo magazine strike or anything like that. But he does need to preserve these 2 points here. So that needs to be the Sunhome's job, I think, at this point. And look how close he is. That is, a couple hundred meters. Because missiles aren't going to be as effective, just because those thunderheads are going to be able to be diverted by either chaff or the radar jamming. Alright, so 3 points, and now to Gamma, 2 to Ofnaught. It's going to slow down, but Ofnaught is 300 points behind, so I don't remember the exact numbers if he can come back at this point, but he does need to either take or hold another point here, and it looks like he is going for D with the Morning Sky, which is just being destroyed. That ship is gone, unfortunately. So now he has to make his way down to point D, which if he really wants to take this win, make it convincing. However, it is very open and in the eyes of 2 battleships here. So that is very, very hard. Point B could be more appealing because there is more room. You can come down sort of through the top here, but it's not super easy. Looks like the Sunhome, has been destroyed. Not 100% sure why. Maybe it's just internal fires or cook-offs or anything like that. But it looks like the precipitation of blades is now making a move towards WSV block. And I wonder if he's going to go for a short range or a close range missile fire here. I wonder if he has any hurricanes that he has left that he's able to use. And looks like the Solace of Youth maybe is going to drive upwards over to point C and E as well. So block now has started the capture of point C, and we can see Gamma moving down and around to capture point D. battleships are turning their attention over to sea, so this could be the safe time for this maneuver. It is very risky. It is also sort of high reward as well. And I'm just wondering, does he have any other missiles here? Because he has no other guns. He's fairly close. And the battleship's now starting to, or at least one of them, is starting to capture the Solace of Youth. The Precipitation of Blades needs to fire something if it wants to take out this ship. And it may actually just have no offensive capability left, which is always the downside of sort of missile ships, but you know, that's also what they're there for. So Block can sit on this. Precipitation of Blades coming in. The question is, you know, will Block move up to point E, try and, you know, capture that, or is the Precipitation of Blades, or is it just going to stay where it is and hold this point? Still got WSV Par out the back here as well. Still 3-2, still that 300 point lead, and as it ticks up, it's harder and harder to tick that down. We've got the dive here from the Tamari and the Tailed Fox, using a bit of this smoke screen from the Morning Song as cover. If they can nestle in behind point D, they may be okay. Railguns being very accurate against the Nine-Tailed Fox, taking out the support ship first as both jamming and its maneuverability. Block looks like it's moving off to E, with Blades recapturing C. The Precipitation of Blades will never be able to catch up to Block, which will just be able to run around the map, and that's the downside of having to chase these corvettes, and the benefit of also bringing them. So we start to trade points here. C being captured, or now being captured by the Precipitation of Blades, and D almost at halfway. It looks like so using that small piece of terrain with the flanking of the battleships, though, there's not a lot of cover. So these rails are now just going straight through. They're over penetrating, so when they over penetrate, they're not going to do as much damage as they normally would if they didn't. So from this angle, you know, it's not going to take as much. It only takes 15% of that initial railgun damage, but these HE shots are going to cause more damage to this type of ship. And that's now 4-1. Block's moving up to point E, but Gamma's going to get some more points on the board, but only 160 points left for Ofnaught, and then he takes this as a win. So with where we are at the moment, we can see that Block will take point E. There's no way for Precipitation of Blades to continually fight this. If it had any missiles or anything, it would have fired them already before it took point C. Point D looks like it is being cornered by these two battleships who are just coming out on different flanks. I imagine that these two ships here are going to be destroyed, just being caught in this sort of widening net, or, you know, double. Yeah, there we go. So it looks like all the offensive capability on blue team has been destroyed. And that's a win for Ofnaught, I would think I would call it. Yeah, there we go. So a win to Ofnaught. He had those points. He was fairly close, so it looked like, you know, he was going to get it or eventually be able to take those points back. Let's have a look at the reason why. Looks like they were either all eliminated or no offensive capability. So the Tamari died, the Symphony, the Sunhome was destroyed as well. So we saw both of those, and I think this is probably the one that maybe triggered it towards the end. The Symphony of Tears and the Morning Red Sky in the Morning, both suffering those early casualties to railguns. And then, you know, if we have a look over on the two battleships, just doing huge amounts of damage but receiving barely any themselves. And then the smaller ships, whose primary job by the looks of it was to simply capture points, outfitted with a small gun to take out other ships, and then defensive measures in the terms of a defender. And then you also had the VLSs as well, VLS 23s, to provide some of that chaff. So they did their job for the couple hundred points that they cost. They actually got Ofnaught off to that early lead, and with 2 battleships you need something fast to just capture those points. And then with the PAR and block providing the EWA, dedicated EWA support, positioned well that they took no damage. They dealt no damage because that's not their job, and they just took a little bit of damage. And no doubt they've got some sort of damage control capability on each to put out any fires, etc. So a good game, an interesting game. It's always hard to fight 2 battleships. All right, that's it. Take care.